There's a creek outside Red Hollow, cutting through the mountain stone. Folks around those parts still whisper about things they've always known. Grandma used to tell us stories, sitting by the fireplace glow. She'd say some places belong to heaven and the devil can't go. The old bridge crossed that water, built before the Second War, and every preacher in the county knew the tale behind its boards. They said a man once lost his soul there, chasing whiskey, cards, and gold, till something happened by that creek that nobody could explain. The wind moved through the sycamores as the moon climbed through the trees, and every old timer swore that creek carried mysteries. The devil couldn't cross that creek, no matter how hard he tried. Mercy stood upon the water and would not step aside. The devil couldn't cross that creek, where faith ran deep and strong, and every soul that found that crossing somehow made it home. Now every time I pass that water, I still believe the devil couldn't cross that creek. I laughed at all those stories when I was young and wild, certain life was nothing more than luck and foolish pride. I left town chasing trouble and found more than my share. Bars, broken promises, and nights filled with despair. Then one November evening, after years of running free, I drove back through the mountains with nothing left of me. The rain came down like judgment as I crossed the county line, and somehow every wrong turn brought me back one final time. The creek was running higher than I'd ever seen before, and thunder rolled through the valley like a warning from the Lord. The devil couldn't cross that creek, no matter how hard he tried. Mercy stood upon the water and would not step aside. The devil couldn't cross that creek, where faith ran deep and strong, and every soul that found that crossing somehow made it home. Now every time I pass that water, I still believe the devil couldn't cross that creek. Maybe God leaves certain places as reminders we can see that darkness doesn't own the road and evil isn't free. Maybe every wandering sinner needs a crossing somewhere too, a place where grace stands waiting to carry them back through. The devil couldn't cross that creek, now I understand why. Because mercy built a bridge there long before I arrived. The devil couldn't cross that creek, but grace carried me through. And every step beyond that water made everything brand new. Now every time I hear that river running through the trees, I remember what saved me at that creek. touched the water as the storm clouds drifted west. And somewhere beyond that crossing, my restless soul found rest.
There's a river outside Harlem, running cold beneath the pines, where the mountains hold the morning and steal a little bit of time. Grandpa used to tell the story of the summer he got saved, standing waist deep in that water on a hot July day. The preacher came from Knoxville with a Bible in his hand, and half the county gathered along the muddy riverbank. Folks brought lawn chairs and coolers, children skipped stones through the stream, while old women sang old hymns that echoed through the trees. The river kept on moving like it had for all these years, carrying away burdens and washing away fears. Baptized in a mountain river where mercy runs wild and free, where broken hearts surrender and chains fall into the stream. Baptized in a mountain river beneath the Appalachian sky, where grace meets weary sinners and teaches them how to rise. Now every current reminds me what redemption really is, being baptized in a mountain river and finally finding peace. I spent years chasing shadows through cities far from home, trying hard to build a life that somehow still felt wrong. The money came and disappeared, the friendships came and went, and somewhere in the middle of it all, I forgot what living meant. Then one spring I drove back home when Daddy fell ill. The mountains looked the same, standing strong and standing still. On Sunday after service, the preacher asked if anyone needed a fresh beginning before the day was done. The river waited quietly as the sunlight touched the hills, and something in that moment told me this was real. Baptized in a mountain river where mercy runs wild and free, where broken hearts surrender and chains fall into the stream. Baptized in a mountain river beneath the Appalachian sky, where grace meets weary sinners and teaches them how to rise. Now every current reminds me what redemption really is, being baptized in a mountain river and finally finding he speaks through rain. Maybe he washes old wounds clean without erasing pain. Maybe every road I wandered, every scar and every fall was leading me back to that river where he'd been waiting through it all. Baptized in a mountain river, now redemption fills my veins. Every wound became a witness that mercy still remains. The mountains watched me leave once, now they watch me standing strong. And heaven met me in that water where I finally belong. Now every sunrise reminds me how amazing grace can be. Since I was baptized in a mountain river and finally set free. Oh, oh, the fog rolled off the water as the morning touched the pines. And somewhere beyond the current, God changed this heart of mine. The whistle blew at 5:30, just like it always had. And the men walked toward the mine shafts, carrying lunch pails from their dads. The town sat in the valley, under mountains black with coal, where every family knew hardship like a friend they'd always known. Mr. Jenkins ran the barber shop, Miss Ruth taught Sunday school. The diner opened before daylight, for the miners heading through. Nobody had much money, but nobody stood alone, because in a place like Blackwater, you learn to carry your own. The church bell rang each evening across the fading hills, and every tired soul could hear it calling through the stillness. It's a cold town hallelujah, rising through the dust and rain, where broken hands keep lifting upward and hope survives the pain. It's a cold town hallelujah, echoing through the mountains wide, where mercy walks beside the weary and never leaves their side. Now every road reminds me what faith can carry through. In a cold town hallelujah. Then the mine shut down one winter, and jobs disappeared overnight. Families packed their trucks and left town, searching for a different life. Storefront windows gathered dust, the school lost half its class, and every conversation seemed to start with stories from the past. Daddy sat beside the heater, staring at the kitchen wall, wondering how he'd feed the family when there was no work at all. But Mama opened up a Bible and read from Matthew 6 about sparrows and tomorrow, and trusting God through it. The choir sang that Sunday, though half the pews were bare, and somehow in those voices hope was still hanging there. It's a cold the cold town hallelujah. Maybe heaven loves the small towns the world forgets to see. Maybe grace grows strongest in the soil of humility. Maybe every trial teaches what comfort never could. And maybe God still builds his miracles in places called no good. It's a cold town hallelujah. Now I finally understand how faith can move a mountain, one prayer at a time by hand. It's a cold town hallelujah, where redemption still remains, and every scar becomes a testimony of mercy through the pain. Now every church bell reminds me of the truth I always knew. There's a cold town hallelujah still ringing through. The sun fell behind the ridges and painted gold across the cold, while somewhere in that little town the choir still sang hope. The dust rolls behind my tires like ghosts chasing me through time, down a road outside Corbin that I'd left far behind. The railroad crossed the valley like a scar through the land. Every whistle in the distance sounded like a second chance. I was 20 when I left there, certain I knew it all. Too proud to hear the warnings, too stubborn for the call. I traded mountains for highways and routes for restless dreams. But the farther I kept running, the less I knew what freedom means. The sunset burned like amber across the western sky, and every mile felt heavier the closer I drove by. Dust roads and redemption, that's what brought me home again. 1,000 miles of wandering and lessons learned the hard way, friend. Dust roads and redemption, where mercy meets the pain, and God still waits beside the road, calling out your name. Now every scar reminds me grace still finds a way. Down dust roads and redemption. The old tobacco barn was leaning, and just like it always had. The pain was gone from Grandpa's fence, but the memory stayed intact. Miss Clara in the diner still, and knew me by same old way. The church stood on the hillside overlooking creek and field. The same bell rang on Sunday, the same prayers rose and healed. I walked inside that evening with more regret than pride, and sat where Daddy used to sit before the Lord took him home. The choir sang Amazing Grace through the stained glass evening light, and something long forgotten finally came alive. Dust, roads, and redemption, that's what brought me home again. 1,000 miles of wandering, and lessons learned the hard way, friend. Dust, roads, and redemption, where mercy meets the pain, and God still waits beside the road, calling out your name. Now every scar reminds me, grace still finds a way down those roads and redemption. Maybe every road we travel leads us where we're meant to be. Maybe every wrong turn teaches what pride refuses to see. Maybe heaven leaves signposts along the roads we roam, pointing weary hearts back toward the places called home. Dust, roads, and redemption. Now I understand at last why some roads never leave you, and no matter how far you've passed. Dust, roads, and redemption, where forgiveness still remains, and every mile behind me becomes a testimony of grace. Now every sunrise reminds me God never walked away from those dust roads and redemption. The train rolled through the valley as the evening settled low, and somewhere beyond the headlights I finally made it home. There's a stretch of woods outside Jellicoe, where the pines stand tall and old. Their roots run deep through mountain stone, like stories never told. Daddy took me hunting there long before I grew a beard. He'd say, son, if you sit still long enough, you'll hear what matters here. Back then I thought he meant the deer trails, or the creek beyond the ridge, not something deeper hiding in the silence of those hills. But life has a way of teaching what youth refuses to believe, and some truths only find us after everything else leaves. The wind moved through the treetops, like a hymn without a choir. And something in that whisper touched a place deep inside. I heard God's voice in the pines, not in thunder, not in fire, but in the quiet between heartbeats, in the longing of desire. I heard God's voice in the pines, where the mountains meet the sky, and mercy spoke so softly, it nearly passed me by. Now every breeze reminds me grace is closer than it seems. I heard God's voice in the pines. When Daddy passed that winter, the snow came hard and deep, and for months I walked those woods alone, with questions I couldn't keep. Why do good men leave too early? Why does grief cut so deep? Why does heaven feel so distant when you're down on your knees? I wandered through those forests till spring began to show, and every day the pines stood there like they'd somehow always know. Then one morning by the creekside, as sunlight touched the land, I felt a peace I'd never known settle over me again. No voice came from the heavens, no miracle appeared, just a quiet kind of comfort, stronger than my fear. I heard God's voice in the pines, not in thunder, not in fire, but in the quiet between heartbeats and the longing of desire. I heard God's voice in the pines, where the mountains meet the sky, and mercy spoke so softly, it nearly passed me by. Now every breeze reminds me grace is closer than it seems. I heard God's voice in the pines. Maybe God still speaks in force to the ones who slow down long enough. Maybe heaven isn't always loud, maybe sometimes love is quiet enough. Maybe every road of sorrow, every tear and every scar leads us back to moments where we remember who we are. I heard God's voice in the pines, now redemption fills my soul. Every wound became a witness that mercy makes us whole. I heard God's voice in the pines, when my doubts finally gave way, and the peace I'd spent years searching for found me there that day. Now every sunrise through the branches reminds me of that scene when I heard God's voice in the pines. The morning fog rode slowly across the mountainside,
And somewhere through the silence, I knew he'd been there all the time.
There's a road that follows a river south of Greenville town, where the cotton bends in the wind and the sun burns red going down. My grandpa used to drive that road in an old Ford warning slow, saying, boy, the river teaches things most folks never get to know. He worked the fields his whole life till his back gave out one spring. Yet every Sunday in that white church, you could hear him sing, the kind of voice that carried pain and somehow carried hope, like he'd walked through every valley and still learned how to cope. The train whistle cut the evening as the shadows crossed the lane, and every note seemed to whisper that grace still understands. There's mercy down in Mississippi, flowing deeper than the river runs, through every scar and every heartache, through every father and every son. There's mercy down in Mississippi, waiting where the broken kneel. And no matter where you wander, grace can find you still. Now every mile reminds me what redemption truly is. There's mercy down in Mississippi. I spent years chasing freedom through places far from home, working jobs that paid the bills but left my spirit cold as stone. The city never felt like family, the noise never felt like peace, and every night I found myself longing for those southern trees. Then Mama called one winter, said Grandpa's time was near. So I drove all night through Arkansas with memories in the rear view mirror. When I reached that little hospital room, he grabbed my hand and smiled and said, don't spend your whole life running from the place that made you child. The river rolled beyond the window as the sunset touched the sky, and somewhere in that silence I finally understood why. There's mercy down in Mississippi, flowing deeper than the river runs, through every scar and every heartache, through every father and every son. There's mercy down in Mississippi, waiting where the broken kneel. And no matter where you've wandered, grace can find you still. Now every mile reminds me what redemption truly is. There's mercy down in Mississippi. Maybe God lives in the back roads and the fields we leave behind. Maybe heaven sounds a little like the voices of our family line. Maybe every road we wander, every wound and every fall leads us back to mercy that was waiting through it all. There's a mercy down in Mississippi. Now I see it everywhere, in weathered hands and old church hymns and prayers whispered through the air. There's mercy down in Mississippi, strong fields and through the pines, and somewhere in that stillness, grace finally met this heart of mine. There was a farmhouse on Miller Road, just beyond the county line, where the porch light burned every evening, no matter the season or time. Daddy fixed fences through the summers, Mama prayed beside her bed, and every night before she slept, she'd leave that old light shining instead. Never thought much about it when I was young and restless then. I was too busy chasing highways and places I'd never been. At 19 I left those mountains, certain I'd never look back. Now I know when the things we run from have a way of bringing us back. The road kept stretching farther, but peace stayed hard to find, and every mile I traveled left a little more behind. The porch light never went out, no matter how far I roamed, no matter how many mistakes I made, or how long I'd been gone. The porch light never went out, like mercy standing in the rain, come back again. Now every time I see that glow, I understand somehow the porch light never went out. The city taught me hard lessons about loneliness and pride, about empty rooms and crowded bars and nowhere left to hide. Years slipped by like river water till one cold December night, Mama called and said, "Your daddy's sick, you ought to come home while there's time." I drove all night through Tennessee, past fields and frozen streams, carrying more regret than luggage and more memories and dreams. Then I saw that old farmhouse standing where it always stood, and that porch light burning softly, like somehow it understood. The screen door creaked open slowly as Mama wrapped me in her arms, and every wall I'd built inside me started coming. Light never went out, no matter how far I roamed, no matter how many mistakes I made, or how long I've been gone. The porch light never went out, like mercy standing in the rain, waiting for a weary soul to finally come back again. Now every time I see that glow, I understand somehow the porch light never went out. Maybe God leaves little lights along the roads we travel, little reminders of His grace when life begins to unravel. Maybe love isn't measured by the words we say out loud. When nobody's around, the porch light never went out. Even when I lost my way, even when I doubted everything and stayed gone far too long to stay,
The porch light never went out. Now redemption fills my soul, because somebody kept believing I'd someday make it home. Now every prayer reminds me what grace is all about. The porch light never went out. The mountains held the evening as the stars came slowly down, and somewhere beyond the darkness, a single light still shines.